My sprinting warm-ups used to be horrible. All my old 100-meter sprint progression videos, during that time period, I would do all these random exercises for my warm-ups, which made it impossible to understand why my main sets were so inconsistent. Since then, I created a warm-up system that is easy to remember, and it also has its own feedback loop so that I never have another bad session. If the end goal is to avoid bad sessions as a result of good warm-ups, it would help to actually remember what to do in the warm-up. So instead of having a laundry list of movements that I tend to get lost in, I designed a memorable pattern with 3 circuits. So my goal with the first circuit is relaxing as much as I can. The goal with the second circuit is to activate all my muscles. My goal for the third circuit is to drill my technique. And what makes this pattern memorable is now there's a progression from circuit to circuit, and there's a progression for each movement that is performed within each circuit. Before making this easy to remember circuit, I also had no idea how much getting loose and relaxing would help improve my training, but now I've found that taking 5 minutes or so in circuit 1 to calm my body down helps me lock into like a apex predator mindset. So I start with an easy 200 to 400 meter jog, just getting the blood flowing, before going to head rolls, where before I didn't realize how tight my neck would be going into these workouts. So getting loose here helps me cascade this feeling of relaxation to the rest of my body, going next to my arms and my shoulders, where I had a lot of tightness and actually fear before, fear that my arms would fly off. But my brain has learned that increased range here only helps my upright sprints and acceleration technique. I continue to relax with some basic twists, working my spine and then going to my hips and my legs with some hip circles and a shakeout to release my lower limbs. And by the end of this, we have finished circuit 1, where I am slightly warm, but I feel like jello. I've learned the hard way that I need circuit 1 to reset my body and mind for the best sessions possible. And I've learned something similar as I go into circuit 2, except if I skip circuit 2, which is muscular activation, I'll feel cold and like I can't give my best effort come the main set. So I'll take around 15 minutes here to go through a progression of ground drills. I'll activate my spinal erectors with these wiggle things on the ground before getting to my hip flexors, glutes, and hamstrings. I would stupidly skip this before, and it has led me to a bit of an imbalance in my left hip. So to get a better connection to that side, I do it first before moving to the right. One habit that I've carried from my bad warm-ups is how I still get really bored when I'm warming up. So I'll stack different movements like going on my fingertips while I'm activating my glutes, so I can get some work in because I know I'm weak when I do 3-point starts. And I'll also experiment with how I shift my body around to get some extra core activation. Then if there's anything else that's bothering me, like my hip, I will do some extra stretching, some release with a foam roller or whatever, but I make sure to do that after all the general activation work. By the end of the second circuit, I make sure not to go too hard so that I'm exhausted, but enough that I have a nice pump in my muscles. So this is the end of circuit 2. The focus of circuit 3 now is drills, where in the past I would do drills, but it was always random, where I would never focus on the mistakes that I made when I was running fast. And I didn't even know what my mistakes were when I was running fast. So as I get into circuit 3, I drill my technique and I take advantage of how I'm relaxed and how my muscles are activated. It's like my body is in this prime state to change how my technique is. So I do a specific drill progression that starts off with simple ones and then progresses to more complex drills, so they look more and more like sprinting. Circuit 3 isn't so much a mindset preparation as it is a movement preparation. So I'll take another 15 minutes or so with this circuit, starting with isolating one mistake at a time. So I'll isolate my foot placement with standing marches, and I will isolate my knee drive with basic skipping before I get into more advanced drills like A skips, where I just try to link together these corrections I'm making to my mistakes. And to find my mistakes in the first place, I will go into that once we get to the main work. My usual drill progression is pretty much standing marches, basic skipping, A skips, side shuffles, karaoke, C skips, and then I go to the drill finale, which is the fast leg drill. A few months ago, I didn't even realize this drill existed, but I have learned that I'm able to do different variations to cater to the workout I'm doing. Like I can increase the frequency if I'm doing an acceleration workout, or I can try and lengthen it out if I am doing a tempo workout. After all these drills, all the muscular activation, all the relaxation, we're at the end of circuit 3, and I am supposed to feel my best to sprint fast. But if I have too much fatigue going into the warm-up and into the workout at this point, I have to gauge how I feel within each circuit so I can make the right decision for my training once I get to the main set. I pretty much have 3 options where I can either do the main set as it's written, alter the training so it's a little bit easier, or I can just go home. In the case where I do the main set in some fashion, I can then use how I perform in the main set to change how I warm up. So everything is always improving. Like if I'm slow speed wise and I just wasn't able to get into the right mindset that day, maybe I'll do a little bit more relaxation in circuit 1. Or if I'm tired or still tight and cold, I'll do more or less in circuit 2. And then when I find my mistakes to work on, I can address them in circuit 3 with my drills. And the way I do that is I look at where my form breaks down at higher speeds, like when I cast out running faster than like 7 meters per second with tempo workouts. Maybe I'll experiment with different drills in circuit 3, like changing how I cue my standing marches or change up the drill entirely to get a different kind of stimulus. And this is what I mean by being able to have the best possible session every single time, because there's this progression and building of the warm-up. I'm able to gauge how I feel at every part of training. So I can make the decision to change the main set, change the warm-up, change whatever I need to do, because I have all these checkpoints that allow me to create the best possible session for what my body's capable of on a given day. And really, it would be impossible without the software to get feedback like this, and I know it can help more people get faster. You can join the waitlist for access with the link in the description, and you can actually also get your sprinting analyzed by sending your videos in. A huge thank you to everyone who has already sent their videos in, and thank you for watching, and thank you for subscribing.